I'm recording this video without having seen the debates that happened yesterday. And in fact, if you notice, you might even be able to see, just the headphone marks that are in my head. I'm recording this directly after we did the stream last night, reacting to the Trump and Tucker sit down, which was very good and a heck of a lot of fun. Thanks for everybody who tuned out for that one. And as for the debates themselves, the GOP primary debates that Vivek absolutely dog walked, okay, like it's just 100% proven that he was the undisputed winner on that one. Everybody else just looked like lethargic children. And obviously, I'll refresh myself and we'll do a full breakdown of those in the very near future next time we do a stream. But it was so obvious that the media, the establishment, was big shook by one of the candidates that at least was going to appear on the stage. We all know that Trump is likely, okay, outside of just some absolute shot in the dark, awful event, okay? I don't even want to speak it into existence, okay? Think Kennedy, just with a lot more spray tan. Vivek is definitely positioning himself, and as soon as the polls catch up, he's firmly going to be in second place because he established himself in the way that I said. If he's just going to go out there and be the Trump surrogate, and he's going to go ahead and he's going to frame himself as being the alternative. He even used the phrasing when we took a look at his Twitter timeline after the debate took place. He's using America First 2.0. He is using the verbiage, setting himself up as a differentiation from the rest of the rhinos that are on the stage. And that's why the media is shook by this guy, and they should be, because he's a real danger. Maybe not for 2024. Maybe he's setting himself up for something better. Maybe he's seen that position that was being coveted, or at least talked about, for Ron DeSantis, and realizing that, you know what, being a VP in 2024 and then setting myself up for a proper run in 2028 isn't such a bad idea, okay? Being the kingmaker and then getting the hot baton passed off to him in 2028 doesn't sound like that bad of an idea after all. Especially we know that the way that the Democrats are going to be trying to run in 2028, but I get ahead of myself because the mud is already starting to be flung. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Recording debunks of Vivek Ramaswamy's denial of 9/11. Oh my God, he denied 9/11 even happened. Oh my God, comments questioning whether federal agents were on the plane. What's he talking about? Okay, what's he talking about? Because I got questions, and I know some people who have some good answers in regards to what happened at 9/11. Shout out to Ryan Dawson. I just want to know what Vivek knows, or at least thinks, or ponders, or is completely and totally made up. The Atlantic. Okay, pause. They're talking about the Atlantic. The goofy ass, like, come on, man. Get out of here. The Atlantic published a recording of Republican presidential candidate. Yeah, the same Atlantic outlet that published the story that Trump called a bunch of dead soldiers suckers and losers. That was immediately rebuked like that. So that's what we're running with here. The word of the Atlantic. Okay. Only Rolling Stone is less credible than the Atlantic. That gets bigger coverage, okay? Presidential candidate and biotech and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy casting doubt on the federal government's assessment of the September 11th attacks after he claimed he was misquoted by the magazine. Marking at least the second time in a month, Ramaswamy has made controversial statements about the 2001 terrorist attack. Yeah, because he has questions, because he took a look at did he look at the JIC or the congressional inquiry into 9/11, and it was found lacking because it very much is. It doesn't answer any questions for pertinent information. It simply believes with the state-sponsored lines that it was a bunch of Saudi Arabians with box cutters successfully taking over planes. Don't ask any further questions about it, okay? But if you want to know what actually went on that day, like I said, shout out Ryan Dawson. The recording that just quotes the magazine published Monday in a profile of Ramaswamy, in which he brought up the doubts about the federal government's account of 9/11 to raise the possibility of federal agents were involved in January 6, 2021 Capitol riots. You drop them on a Monday, and then you do the clarification on a Tuesday, and then you also seek with your media apparatus to further discredit him on the Wednesday, right before the first round of presidential debates. Interesting. Very interesting. GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy faces tough criticism about suggesting the truth about 9/11 is still unknown during an interview, but claims his quotes were taken out of context. GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy has been heavily criticized Heavily. This is the first time that I'm seeing it, but if the media is telling me that it's heavy, I listen and believe. First suggesting that U.S. federal agents may have been on the planes involved in the September 11th terrorist attacks. No. There was definitely state-sponsored terror, and the United States military-industrial complex did, in fact, have something to say about this, but, the black box recordings do tell a different story. And no, there weren't exactly anybody who was repping the flag on the planes. And to suggest that the United States had a hand in the hijacking of the planes, that's not necessarily true. They were definitely culpable on a bunch of different avenues. But if we want to talk about state-sponsored terrorism, there are some other countries involved that aren't the United States. Ramaswamy, a 38-year-old upstart millennial candidate who is seeking high office in 2024, suddenly veered towards a controversial conversation after discussing the January 6th insurrection in an interview. Hilarious. You want to have controversial conversations about the validity of the official story of 9/11, but January 6th was an insurrection. Good stuff. He said in the questions, the United States government's reporting on a number of federal agents who were involved in the attack, telling the Atlantic's John Hendrickson, I think it was legitimate to say how many federal agents were on the planes that hit the Twin Towers. Maybe the answer is 0. Probably is 0 for all I know, right? I have no reason to think it was anything other than 0. Okay. Exactly. He was asking, were there air marshals on there? No, that service didn't get established beforehand. Okay, but there were other events that also presaged 9/11, but again, because this will be going up on YouTube as well, I need not delve any further. Just know that I got some questions, and I know some people who have answers. But if we're doing a comprehensive assessment of what happened on 9/11, we have a 9/11 commission. That's total fucking ass cancer for a multitude of reasons. Absolutely, should be an answer the public knows the answer to. Exactly. And how heavily redacted those goofy ass commissions are. Yeah, the JI6 JI6, conflating everything. The JIC, the Senate investigation, it's a little bit better, but you're also going to need some ancillary information in order to piece everything together. He appeared to suggest that the United States government had not been entirely truthful about the events surrounding the terrorist attacks. See how they try to get you with the headline? Oh, he's being a conspiracy theory. Oh, he probably thinks, steel beams don't get melted by fire, or there was thermite, or what about Building 7? All of that quack shit. Oh my God, holograms hit the tower. What are you, fucking retarded? No, obviously. There was shit that happened that day. Who was responsible for that? Nobody wants to answer that. They just want to get spun off in different areas. Like, oh my God, no plane hit the Pentagon. No, it did. There was parts. There were bodies that was found at the Pentagon. Fucking proof that's there. No. You want to figure out how there were terrorists that were moving about the country. How the FBI field office in Miami was in communications with the FBI field office in New York City. And how they ignored different warnings that were going on. How there were other planes that were in the air on the day of September 11th. And then also in the subsequent days as well. And a bunch of information, including some van bombs. And that also got memory hold. But no, the media wants to go ahead and paint Ramaswamy as, oh my God, he's one of those crazy kooks. One of the truthers that are out there. When in actuality, it's just like, is there some information that the government is probably hiding from us? I bet there is. He said in the interview that he brought up the attacks only because it was invoked on the basis of the January 6th commission, which we also know is equally as credible. So fair analysis. It's like, okay, there were a whole lot of questions after the release of the 9/11 commission. There are equal amounts of questions for the January 6th commission. Can we really trust our institutions anymore? And is that a problem? Pretty decent interview topic, I would imagine, especially if you got somebody across the table from you that is seeking the highest office in the land. Hey man, very good question. But of course, it was a gotcha because guess what? He works for, the Atlantic. Well, if we're doing a January 6th commission, absolutely. Those should be questions that we should get to the bottom of. What percentage of the people who were armed were federal law enforcement officers? I think is probably high, actually, Ramaswamy said. In 2021. Yeah, talking about, see how they conflate that shit? Oh my God, he was talking about, no, he was talking about January 6th. He was talking about January 6th, okay? Now we know We know. That's why now every time that you see one of those white nationalist protests that are out there, everybody just goes, feds on parade. There's nothing to see here. In 2021, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi unsuccessfully tried to create a 9/11 style commission that would investigate how and why the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. took place. Shortly after the interview was published, he tried rowing back his comments. No, he tried to clarify it because you guys were trying to obfuscate because you're big shook by Vivek. He told CNN, okay, that he was misquoted by The Atlantic, but seemingly doubled down on the conspiracy talk. Well, yeah, it's technically true to call it conspiracy talk because people did conspire behind the scenes. It's just, you're not supposed to know that. Shut the fuck up. It is a one that I articulated, which is that Saudi Arabia, absolutely their intelligence was involved in 9/11. Wish I had a bell. I wish I had a bell to ring on that one because he's 1000% true on that one. Check out Bandar bin Sultan. Shortly after the interview, Ramaswamy drew condemnation from allies and foes. Yeah, I don't really care. Okay, Republicans against Trump. Like, I give a fuck what this never Trump Rhino Pack has to say about that. Scott English, a former Republican aide. I get the Ramaswamy was 16 when 9/11 happened. Saudi involvement was pretty well known. We had Homeland Security Act passed when he was 17. So what, you're trying to big bro him? Okay, you're a former Republican aide. He is currently number 2 in the fucking polls the moment that they catch up. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and once again just chalk this up as an exceedingly and more so common W for Vivek. Asking questions about 9/11, that's our boy. Not them boys, but that's our boy. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.